Hi friends, my name is Emma and welcome back to another monthly wrap-up video. I'm excited because I watched a lot in April, so let's get into it. But first, I do want to thank my Patreons for making videos like this possible. If you like what I do here and you want to support me further and also get some perks as a reward for that, well, the Patreon is where to go. You can support me for as low as $2 a month, and that will give you bonus content every single week. More raw videos that are personal vlogs, trailer reactions, spoiler chats, bonus come with me's, all that kind of stuff. I also have a Discord connected to it and we do movie nights as well. All the information about that is always linked down below. It's just Spookyastronauts over on Patreon. But let's jump in, and I thought this month, let's start with TV just to shake it up a little bit. So Baby Reindeer is the TV show no one can stop talking about, and yes, I watched it. I actually did a whole video about it and my thoughts, including some more information, some fun facts, and explaining it play-by-play of what happened. If you cannot stomach it, it has further transpired since I made that video, a lot of the controversial issues around it. If you don't know, Baby Reindeer is a Netflix TV show that used to be a one-man stand-up production at Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, and it's about a man who gets intertwined with an unstable woman and how it forces him to reflect on his past and why he may be acting the way he is. I think you need to watch it in full to completely understand it. And I think there's a lot of interesting debate happening about Baby Reindeer right now, but it's really hard to see what is glorified headlines and what is the truth. And truly, we don't know, because we don't know what really happened in that scenario. I don't want to go further into it because of spoilers, but I still absolutely adored the passion and the vulnerability that went into that show, and I would love to see more of that. There's a reason people can't stop talking about it. And next on Netflix, I watched The Circle. I am a huge reality TV fan, and when the new season of the US Circle came out, I was a little bit apprehensive because more so I really preferred the UK version of The Circle, and now they're not doing that anymore. They just have a completely different angle in the way that the contestants interact on that one. But I feel like they really perfected the formula in this new season of The Circle. There's less contestants introduced earlier on and there's less blocking. And although that can mean the game is a little bit slower, not so fast paced, not so brutal, I think it made it easier to get to know each and every single contestant, and I am up to date and I can't wait to watch the finale in a couple of days. I'm so excited to see what happens. I was so sad watching the final episode because I knew they were going to end on a cliffhanger, because they do every single time, and I thought to myself, why even watch this last episode? But I did, so I'm still there hanging off the cliff. The other show I attempted to watch was The Valley, which is, you know, several spin-off. It's funny because Vanderpump Rules obviously is a spin-off of, you know, Lisa Vanderpump's universe. So a spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off is The Valley, which is, I honestly, I can't. This show is so bad. And I did get up to date with all the drama. I watched through to, I think, episode 8 or 9 is out now. It's about a bunch of really boring people who are living in the Valley in LA and their families. And I just cannot get into like the fake drama of it all. What was so beautiful about some of these early reality series, it loses touch as they do spin-offs upon spin-offs because they're so aware of how they're coming across in front of the camera, and it's not like people off the streets like original Jersey Shore style where you can see that they have no idea the implications of what's going to happen. Obviously social media is very different now and everyone's very obsessed about their own personal brand, where early days of reality TV it wasn't like that. It's sad to see a lot of shows that we love are just losing all the spark because of these changes in society, but it is what it is, and I don't think I can finish The Valley. The drama still wasn't enough, even though they were like really hamming it up to try and get the ratings up, and it was for me it was very obvious that that was what they were doing. People struggling and not wanting to be cancelled, literally their show to be cancelled. So I did not enjoy it. I know a few of you recommended for me to watch it, but I'm sorry, I've got to bow out of this one. Something I did watch though was Colin Farrell's Sugar. This is a series about a private investigator who is a film fanatic actually, and he's in LA and he needs to find a missing person. So he finds missing people. That's his kind of niche. And it's all tied back to this greater team of investigators who have this kind of secret society, and they do just that. I really love the roles that Colin Farrell has picked recently. I think he's been in some amazing films, and I'm trying to say something without saying too much. If you've seen Sugar and you're up to date, I don't know if I can continue with things that have transpired. I really liked what was going on, and then it kind of ran out of steam, and then a reveal happened, and I don't think I've been this upset watching a TV show in a very long time. I thought it was really fun, easy crime thriller. It's almost done in a noir style, and because he's a film buff, there's a lot of replication of classic films and a lot of talk about that. And just the direction, let's say the direction it went, I do not love, and I feel very let down. If you're not going to watch it, definitely look up spoilers, because it was one of the wildest moments in a TV show, and I don't think in a good way, but people might love it. Anyway, those are the TV shows I've been watching lately. Please let me know what TV shows you've been watching, because I feel like I went a little bit dry on TV shows this month, so let me know. I'm thinking about rewatching Twin Peaks, because I've been thinking about it for a long time, and it's a big commitment to get back into that world, but I think I'm ready. Okay, let's get into movies, because there's a lot of them. God, the start of the month was a long time ago. I watched Monkey Man. This is one of the first films I watched in May. In April, this is Dev Patel's story that he directed and he stars in, because no one would hire him to be in an action film, and he always wanted to make this film. It's a very straightforward story with a few fun surprises about, good versus evil, and we follow him as he tries to get revenge, and just amazing action sequences, some great gore, and a very interesting fable that is tied into it all. I thought it was a beautiful backdrop. You could just see how much effort went into this film to get it done. I know they had a lot of production issues. I know he broke a couple of bones. I really liked the end product for someone who doesn't really enjoy these kinds of films. I thought it had a lot of heart and soul. It is not perfect, but I enjoyed it. Late Night with the Devil, I did a rewatch at the cinemas. I saw this twice at the cinemas. I was so happy to see it twice. I'm going to say this again. I did say it in my initial video. I touched on it a little bit and we talked about it in the comments. If you do not know the full story about the AI used in this film, I really recommend doing your own research, because there's a lot of rumors that have gone out of control about what is used in this film. No one lost their jobs. It was the actual illustrators themselves, the graphic design team, that decided to use aspects of AI to come up with this 70s style for 3 of the images. And it was done 2 years ago, before there was huge conversations about AI and how it's changing artists and all that kind of stuff. They've definitely learnt their lesson from this, and I think we all have learned a great deal about what horror fans think of AI art, and for that it definitely served a purpose. But the film itself I loved, adored. It scratched an itch. It was goofy, it was scary, it was sinister. It was just a lot of fun. Great Australian film, which a lot of people don't know is Australian. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. So I have reviews on that, and of course, The Omen. I watched The Omen. I just wanted to do a rewatch before watching the new Omen, which is the first Omen. Of course, I love the original Omen so much. I think it's such a fantastic film. I really need to go and rate all of the Omen films eventually. I really loved this film, the first Omen. I felt it was a tad predictable, but expected, and a lot of you have had really good conversations in the DMs about if it really does kind of measure up to, because this is a prequel of the original, if it really does make any sense. And there's a lot of holes which I think are really interesting and make room for another film that may happen at the same time as The Omen, or in between this one. It has to happen at the same time, really. I think that there's room for another prequel, sequel, I don't know, something to do with the franchise in there to connect these two films. So I think that would be really great. It was a fun time. I watched Spider. There's a lot of disturbing films probably coming up next. I watched Spider. I've spoken about this a little bit in one of my, I think it was the traumatic disturbing video that I did. This one is David Cronenberg. It's about a man that goes back to the town he grew up in. It's kind of like a surreal journey into the mind of someone who's mentally ill. Beautifully done. I watched The War Zone. This one has stuck with me still. I cannot forget this film, and a lot of you guys, I know you feel the same. You've written in the comments. This is a really messed up family drama, dark drama. Tilda Swinton's in this one, and Tim Roth directed it. I think it's his only film he's directed. It's about a family who are adjusting to life with a newborn, and they move to the countryside, and then something happens that changes the perspective of this family. Us as the audience see, and the little brother sees forever. I'm gonna leave it there. It's disturbing for a reason, guys. Okay, the next one I watched was Extremities. This one is a 80s revenge film flipped on its head, which I thought was a really interesting concept. Not perfect, but very interesting. The Woodsman is another one. This one's got Kevin Bacon. Got to make sure it's not Ethan Hawke. Yes, it's Kevin Bacon in this one, where we watch a man who's just come out of prison return to society and try and regain some normality that's left. And Lie is a very strange slice of life film that follows some young boys that have gone off the rails, and Brian Cox in this one plays a predator who is grooming them. How else do you want me to put it? Grooming them. And then one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen is The Heart is Deceitful Above All. There's so much controversy about this film, let alone about what happened behind this film. This is a story of a very abusive mother and her relationship with her son. It's really the perspective of a boy that is completely neglected and abused. Let's put all of the disturbing films to the side. I watched Sting, which I did do a review on. This isn't even out in Australia. I got really lucky and got a screener, and I really did not enjoy the film, which is the saddest part. Sting is a movie about a girl who finds a spider and captures it, and it's during a snowstorm in her apartment, and before she knows it, chaos has been unleashed. I didn't love this film as much as I wanted to. Love spiders. I felt like this one was just a little all over the place, but some really cool imagery, which I enjoy. Then I watched Civil War. I didn't know how I was going to feel about this one. This is the new Alex Garland film. I absolutely loved it. I was bawling at the end. I got the question a couple of times why I cried, because I mentioned on Instagram that I cried during this film. It wasn't the ending that got me, it was throughout the whole film. It just affects me immensely with everything going on in the world today, and seeing something like this, I don't know, I just played on my, not every fear, but just how hauntingly dark it all is. And the film, for people who haven't seen it, there was a lot of talk about what this film could be about. And a lot of people thought it was a political film, which was, blue versus red in America, and a dystopian film about the worst of what could happen if there was a civil war and that broke out, and all of the states were separated and, locked into different zones and different entities. And the film takes a different approach. It actually follows war journalism and a team that are going through and just witnessing. So it's really not towing any side. It's just showing the atrocities, which is war photography, war journalism, that actually, this stuff actually happens in other countries, and what they do to put themselves on the line to present what is happening, the news, to people. Obviously, it's some kind of journalism. It's not, you know what I mean. I found it was very effective. It's a very straightforward story, but with really intense imagery and subject matter. I really enjoyed this film. I think I gave it a 9 out of 10. I did it for a Patreon Come With Me. I loved it. Okay, this is going to be interesting. I did a little bit of a rewatch of the classic Rob Zombie Firefly trilogy, starting with House of a Thousand Corpses. This is definitely my favorite out of the three, which is really interesting. I think I've changed my scores completely. I love the kind of homage this one has to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It feels really gritty, grimy, and doesn't make too much sense. I also love the core story of it. This one is more, if you haven't seen it, it's this wild, kooky disgusting, gritty nightmare. It's about people who are going across the country doing research on, I guess, rest stops and kooky oddity places on the way. And they come across this one and it just turns into an absolute nightmare, and a very typical one at that. They want to go see something they shouldn't, and they end up in the wrong part of town with the wrong people. It's kind of like an over-exaggerated, or you could even say campy film. And for what it is and the setup and a lot of the aspects visually, I like this film a lot. I think it's really fun. But from there, Devil's Rejects is such a strange sequel to this one. It's kind of following them around. I call this one the motel film because a lot of it takes place when they're on the run at a motel. Just a very strange addition. I gave this one a 2.5 out of 5 this run, so like a 5 out of 10. And then I also did the same for 3 from Hell. This is a very strange addition, and I think I was so excited when it came out that, I don't know, I got swept up in the nostalgic factor of seeing all of these characters. But when you watch it as a trilogy, it's a very strange progression that these characters have, and they almost become sympathetic towards the end, which is very evil. I watched The Black Coat's Daughter. This was a rewatch. Some of you may know it as February. It has 2 names. Beautiful film, very dark, very slow. And this is an Oz Perkins film as well, which I love the intent that Oz Perkins has, and I like that he has his own stylization and approach to film. The Pretty Little Thing That Lived in the House, I believe that is his other film's title. I didn't really love that one. This one, it took me a couple of watches. It's probably like my 3rd or 4th watch, maybe 5th. And he's doing the new film Longlegs, which I'm scared about because, I don't know, I always love his subject matter and get really excited, and then when I watch his films, they sometimes have a slowness to them that I want to love them, but I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about that one. The Black Coat's Daughter is a very, I would say, subliminal horror movie. It's about a couple of girls who are left in a boarding school and hear about rumors as to what is actually happening there at night. It's told through different perspectives and different chapters. It's a bit of a strange ride, and it all comes together in the end, but it's a weird journey to get there. If you're looking for a challenging film, this is definitely one, but it is very slow. Okay, I watched Challenges. I saw this really early in the month. We got a really early pre-screening. I don't know why we got so lucky. This, of course, is Zendaya's new film and Luca's new film. Luca G. He has another person who has a very interesting stylized approach, because I don't know what he's going to do with any of his films, but he really takes the atmosphere all the way there. When you think about Call Me By My Name, Suspiria, Bones and all such different films, but he really takes it to the nth degree, and I think he did it really well with this. She was a producer as well, I believe, Zendaya, and this is such a funny story because the way it's presented in the trailer, unfortunately I kept seeing the trailer, is so different to what the film is like. But I would say it's a very simple story with a fun payoff, but a very layered, complicated character, relationship, drama, comedy, black comedy. I think it's so interesting the way he says so much with the dialogue, but then just as much with actions and body language in this film. The film plays with timelines going back and forth and meeting in the middle. And Zendaya is this champ tennis player, and she meets these 2 best friends. And let's leave it there because there's so much to discover. I would love to know if you guys liked it. I really enjoyed it. Okay, Final Girls. I watched Final Girls, rewatched this one. I just thought it was time for a rewatch. Fun slasher that didn't get a lot of hype. I think just when it was released, I don't know what happened, but it never got as much hype as it should have. If you haven't seen this one, I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you're a horror lover. The film is about a girl who is dealing with grief, and her friends somehow find themselves in their own horror movie, and it's a very meta experience. It's fun, it's a nice little homage to 80s slashers, but it's very beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful slashers I've ever seen. For some reason, it, instead of doing like this kind of gritty, disgusting, scary approach, it's very beautiful, flowers, colorful. It's bright, it's contrasted. If you're looking for a film to watch with your friends, this one is it. It's got it all. It's just a fun, easy watch that is completely beautiful at the same time and very sentimental. After this, I watched Abigail, which I did a Come With Me for. Loved Abigail. This is what I'm talking about original horror. Although The concept was kind of butchered, meaning the marketing for it and the way they held back on it, even though we all knew what was happening. I still just adored all of the characters coming together. It felt like a very classic nostalgic setup where there's a bunch of oddballs put into one house and then, you know, terror is somewhere hidden within. I love a classic, easy, simple setup and some fun characters and then some amazing gore, and it delivered on that. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. That is a good time. Next, I watched Out of the Blue. These are more traumatic films that you guys actually recommended these to me in another video's comment section, and I sneakily took your recommendations and turned it to a video. And you can see I watched these all in a row. I didn't miss one. I watched them and I just told you exactly how I felt about them, just to stop myself from repeating. Because I literally list out every single film here without spoilers and let you know my thoughts. I will leave that linked just down below. It's films that traumatized you, I think it's called. I'll leave it linked below, you'll see it. But out of those ones, I'd really recommend Gardens of Night. But again, content warning, this is a very intense film about child abuse and the cycle of child abuse. But it's really well done. And I can't believe more people weren't talking about it. So I need to give it a little shout out here. Very intense film though. I'm not kidding. Some of these are really traumatizing, and I really mean that. Painted Bird was also another freaking masterpiece. But all of these were really, really good suggestions. You guys, I don't feel as seen as I do anywhere in this earth except for this channel, which is saying a lot. You guys really get me. And I get you, I like to think. So the films were Out of the Blue, Love Lisa, The Painted Bird, Gardens of the Night, Savage Streets, Clean Shaven. I have to admit something. I had seen Clean Shaven before and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it until I logged it. So that's funny. I really just removed that from my brain. And Rosetta. After this, I watched Argyle. Let me take a sip. I need it for Argyle. This film is so confusing, and I know that you probably are all saying, what do you mean it's confusing? I've never seen a film with so many twists. It all kind of makes sense, but it's all plot holes. A lot of people don't talk about what this film is because it kind of is a spoiler in itself. Let's just say it's about an author who is enlisted to try and help take down this secret society of spies. It is a popcorn movie, smooth-brained movie if I've ever seen one. There's so many plot holes in this film, but it was a fun ride. The only issue is it's a very long movie. For 2 hours, over 2 hours to watch a movie like this is a little bit intense, especially when half of it doesn't make any sense. And a lot of it is just over the top CGI. It's kind of dumb fun for the sake of being dumb fun. But I really like the lead, Bryce Dallas Howard. I have dyslexia. It's really hard to say that name. And she's fantastic. And of course, Sam Rockwell. So can't be mad about that. After that, I watched All About Evil. This is a very strange one. This is crazy. This one has Natasha Lyonne in it. A very cute passion project, you can tell through and through, about these oddballs who are running this cinema, and they decide to do, you know, these slasher adverts that are kind of little homages and start getting popular within that town. It's just a little campy splatter film that feels like it's just made with friends for love and just for the hell of it. It is a strange one, as strange as they come actually. Over the top, theatrical, and we love Natasha Lyonne. It's not a great film by any means, but it fulfills the brief, and if you're looking for something fun to chuck on the background, especially if you have like a horror party and you want something on a projector or something in the background, this is the film. I then watched The Fall Guy, which this film had no right to be this good, honestly. I saw it because I love Ryan Gosling now. I'm gonna say it. Barbie really turned me around. I need to watch his whole catalog. This one, another film shot in Australia, and it's actually meant to kind of mimic the TV show from the 80s, I want to say the 80s, called Fall Guy, which is about a stuntman, but it's completely something else, but it's kind of got the same energy-ish. This movie is about a stuntman who's trying to prove himself to his romantic interest, who just happens to be working on the same film as him. It's a really fun setup, so I don't want to spoil that, but it's a really good time. The action sequences are great. The story is so fun. It's so silly. The stunts themselves are amazing, and it's all dedicated to stuntmen everywhere or stunt people everywhere. And I really, really enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would. If you are thinking about it, definitely check it out. I think it's a good film. Then I watched Infested, which I have a review on. This is another spider film. This one is from France. It's a very straightforward story. I wish it had a little bit more gore, but it's about a group of people who are locked in an apartment during an outbreak, and now they have to fend for themselves and try to escape. Very straightforward. There's a little bit of this strange relationship drama in the middle of it. Not romantic at all, but it's a very interesting layer added to it. I was also lucky enough to go to a outdoor screening of the original The Evil Dead. I've seen this film so many times and I freaking love it. And this was just the coolest experience, seeing it outdoors on a massive screen. Absolute classic. Loved every moment. Then I watched The Master Gardener, and this is a thriller that was on Netflix. There's kind of a big reveal at the start of this film that explains what it's actually about. So I don't want to give that away, but it's about this gardener who is working on this highly esteemed garden. Sigourney Weaver owns as part of her family heritage. And then there is a younger woman who is brought in and he kind of takes her under his wing. It's a thriller. There's some dark secrets. It takes a very strange turn, unexpected. And I think it's meant to show the juxtaposition between, you know, this really soft, beautiful, delicate, you know, flowers lifestyle and who he actually is. And I don't know, it doesn't really work completely for me. It seems like it's meant to be quite an epic story, and I don't know, I didn't really fall for that, but it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I then watched Boy Kills World, and I am not a fan of this film. I've seen some people love this film, some people hate it. I'm definitely not a fan of it. I love Bill Skarsgård, and in this film he plays a deaf and mute person who is trying to get revenge on this family in this dystopian future who has just wronged their people. They're like the upper class and they're dictating a lot of violence. And his character, they made it so that he didn't have any voice you could hear, but they gave him an inner dialogue that is this crazy narration that dictates basically everything that's happening. It's just every single thing. He picks up a weapon. Oh, I'm going to pick this up. But the entire thing is done by the voice actor of Bob from Bob's Burgers. So imagine, I love Bob's Burgers too, which is why I'm so familiar with it. But it's Bob from Bob's Burgers just explaining the whole movie to you in your ear while everything's happening. I didn't like this because, one, just hearing Bob explain a whole action film to me just wasn't on my bingo list for 2024. It was not enjoyable. And the interesting aspect is it's meant to show representation of someone in this situation, but then there was no real purpose as to doing that when they give a narration that dictates every single thing that's happening. And especially because if they showed you an action film where the lead character was not expressing themselves in that way, it's an action film. So surely we should let their actions do the communicating. And it just didn't make any sense to me, because it would have been a really cool if they had it as a film from his perspective in that, instead of listening to his inner dialogue. And he's like making facial expressions to go with the narration, and I don't know. I really didn't enjoy that. The story kind of comes together in an interesting way towards the end. I sat through it, but I wish I hadn't. Do you know what I mean? After this, I watched Tiger Stripes, which is a really cool Malaysian horror movie about a girl who is getting in trouble a lot because she expresses herself a little bit different. And then as she comes into her own skin, she develops her own stripes. Let's say that. I don't want to give away too much, but it's a really thoughtfully detailed story. Just seeing stuff from such a young perspective, I thought it was really raw, vulnerable, and very endearing in a powerful way. So I'd really recommend this one if you haven't checked it out. I also watched, oh my God, I love this film, Problemista. This has to be one of the best films I've ever seen. I'm going to say it. I love Problemista. This film is just everything that I could ever want. I really think that, but it is a comedy, okay? It's like a comedy drama. Tilda Swinton is in this film, and this is like the best performance I've ever seen from her, because she is the most horrendous human being alive. And I don't want to say too much more about that, because the arc, basically it's about a young man who goes to America to try and make his dreams of becoming a toy maker a reality. He just gets himself mixed up in a lot along the way, but he's also trying to get sponsored so he can stay in the country, and that provides a whole nother layer of problems. The film is so funny, so quirky, and it's got a lot of fantasy elements. It has a lot of layers. It talks about relationship. It talks about hardships of people trying to just make their way in life and growth. And it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful, fun journey. And every time you're thinking too much and you're getting too sad about one topic, something else will happen and it will just blow you away. I love this film, and I want to go rewatch it right now. I absolutely adore this film. You really should check it out. And one of the cool things about it is that the lead is the director, and he's just so perfect. I really enjoyed it. I really hope if you've seen it as well that you liked it. Let me know your thoughts down below. And the last horror film I watched last month was Low Lives. This is one that people were talking about. It was on Tubi for free, and I don't want to say too much because I feel like people kind of spoiled it for me. But let's say it is as old school kind of slasher film. It's about a family who are taking a trip and they get shacked up with, I guess, another family and have to fend for themselves. I really can't say too much about this one. I think it was a fun approach to the genre. It's a little bit different. And the characters are pretty well fleshed out, but I don't think it's very polished and shiny. But I think it's worth a watch, especially since you can watch it on Tubi for free. If you enjoy slashers and you don't need to watch a polished film, definitely check this one out on Tubi. All right, that's everything I watched in the month of April. Thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end. You're the best. My voice is going. If you'd like to see what else I've been up to lately, I went and saw the movie Tarot, and I've also done a list on all the movies coming out this month on VOD. I'll be back with you very shortly for a review of a requested movie, Mind, Body, and Spirit. And until then, stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.